One of the best phrases ever spoken in comedy movies is "Damn, I hate Illinois Nazis." Uh, Good morning, everybody. This is Chris Richards, the Eclectic Radical, joining you once again on a beautiful Sunday morning, somewhere, not here, but somewhere, with a friend of the show, and I believe now the Substack is Bull Moose Party of Windham, New York.
That's correct. Yeah, I changed the name.
Yes, it's a shame because, Leon Trotsky's revolutionary Substack was pretty cool. But on the other hand, if you're going to get your local Democrats telling people to vote for the Republicans because you're an anarchist, I guess that outs you and you can't really use Trotsky anymore.
No, you saw that. Yeah, I did send that to you. Yeah.
Yes.
Quite the little uproar. Always good to smear the
But isn't that just like the Democrats telling people to vote for a Republican because of how bad the anarchist will make the Democratic Party look? As if the liberals aren't making the Democratic Party look bad enough.
The only problem is so yesterday he kind of annoyed me, the former. I hope he watches, because he did have a link to your show in the email.
I saw that. I'm very pleased that the Democratic Party of Windham, New York cares so much.
And Hunter, Greene County. I'm glad you're getting a little. Yeah, his name, former Greene County legislator Larry F. Gardner, Esquire, does not like me, apparently.
But is he really a squire? I know lawyers in the U.S. like to use that Esquire all the time. But
he's a lawyer, so I'm going to go with
Esquire. We're in the United States. There are no squires here. We should drop that Esquire.
Well, we should also drop the whole page thing, because it just sounds funny when you talk about like a Capitol Hill page.
That's on purpose.
I know, but it's like what is this? Right? We even have a law that says you're not supposed to take on titles like that, right? I mean, and the next thing you know, we're like, well, they're pages, but that's fine. Would that make you a knight?
That's hilarious, because it is technically a title that admits one is of the gentry.
That's right.
A squire is the next step up to getting a sir in front of your name.
That's right. Page, squire, knight.
They don't use page so much in the European orders of knighthood anymore. Usually now it's sort of esquire and then sir.
Yes, it is. But I'm just saying that, like, historically, that was what
it's true.
In the Middle Ages where they got this.
But historically, the page was just about the right age for all the things the ruling class is up to now, but doesn't want to talk about.
Yes, that was. But what I was getting at is that, in my last run for town supervisor, I upset the powers that be, the establishment of the Democratic Party, one member basically, who felt the need to.
Two, if you count the former Clinton guy.
Well, it turns out that he might not have been that involved.
That's funny.
Right? It was. Josh King just doesn't like me, so he just wanted to donate money. So, but I mean, these are actually people. The other guy who was involved, supposedly, at least on paper, was a former Democratic Committee county chair.
Yes,
right? Named by the name of Thomas Poker.
Yes, I saw that.
And he wrote one letter, but it turns out that both these letters may have been produced by one Larry F. Gardner. Right? So he got to write the one where he just promoted, my opponent as having good policy and doing good things, and the other guy got to knock me down and call it a mindless choice and say that, that if you're anywhere left, then basically you're a Stalinist. Which I have to say, if you're right of Stalin, that usually means like you're Hitler. So I mean, I think you really want to be left of Stalin.
Depends on your point of view, really.
I mean, unless you're saying that fascism is really good, which it really fits in with our whole thing here, right? So these.
My argument is that the Democratic Party does think fascism is really good, and that's why they don't fight Republicans harder. But that's for later.
Well, but we've seen it, right? I mean, they didn't just not fight him; he actually supported him.
Oh yeah.
So. He kind of got me looking into his record, right? In 40 years, right, of what I could find online. I actually have some Freedom of Information Act type. Well, we call them Freedom of Information Law. In New York.
New York, the state version.
The state version requests out to find out his voting record. But what I could find is that after 40 years in our in our county legislature, I could only find one resolution that had his name on it.
Wow.
One. And that was to increase the tax we have on recording mortgages. So we're one of the 7 states in the country that has a mortgage recording tax. So to have the privilege of the county clerk to report that, yes, your property does have a tax on it, does have a mortgage, you have to pay this small tax. It's like 50 cents per $100 on the value you take.
It's a little regressive.
It is. It does harm, new homeowners, because now you have all the closing fees, and all of a sudden you got another, like, say you're buying a house that's $150,000, you mortgage $140 of it, you got like another $1,800 bill right on the top of it. And now that gets split up between the state, the county, and then the town.
Yep.
And depending on how they have their arrangements, it varies. So, but that was it. That was his only thing. I looked through like 300 pages worth of material yesterday for like 2 hours. And everything else was just, that was the other disturbingly strange thing, right? For a body, right? Now, it is mostly controlled by Republicans. It only had like 2 Democrats on it at any one time. Neither one of them ever really voted no against any policy or anything. He has literally.
So these are Democrats who agree with Republicans anyway, basically.
Right, basically. That's what I'm getting at, right? So he had one resolution and 2 times that he voted no in 40 years. Every other time the amount of unanimous votes are ridiculous. It looks like a joke from like the Soviet Politburo, right? I think they had more resistance.
That might be unfair to the Politburo.
That's what I'm saying. They had more resistance there, but that was always the joke, that everything went through there and everyone just yes.
Yeah, yes, but the real fun of reading Trotsky's autobiography is finding out about the personalities of the Politburo and how they were always fighting about everything, and how someone was always on Lenin's ass about something. And Lenin was practically the only person who could handle all these people being on his ass all the time. And that was the real reason he was in charge.
Well, that, and he just had such a good, Mr. Clean look. It was just amazing.
You got to admit, he was hot enough that they cast Patrick Stewart to play him in the 70s. And right. you know what Patrick Stewart playing Lenin does to that certain kind of female television fan.
That's right. Just a babe magnet. No, I'm just kidding about that. But really, I am up to a point. But one of the biggest. I know, that was the joke during TNG, was that Gene Roddenberry wanted to wear a stupid toupee.
Yes, and there's even this great scene later on in the episode where they have to decide who's going to take over the Klingon Empire, where Duras's sister seems to really be getting into the shape of Picard's skull while she's flirting with him. And they actually advertise it while she's sort of fondling his bald head. That's right.
Became a real sex symbol doing there. But getting back to the Republicans. Yes. So yeah, he'll probably be upset and watch this and write another thing because they plan on running again.
Good for you.
He'll probably write something about how I'm. I think it's just nonsense, but that's the kind of stuff that midterms would bring out, right? And so, getting to that topic, I found
there's always some crazy Nazi Republican, usually several, running somewhere. It's not just a Trump phenomenon. The crazy Nazi Republican running somewhere goes way, way, way back.
Well, originally, from like the late 70s to I would say maybe 10 years ago, that crazy Republican Nazi used to be pretty reliably something in the Libertarian Party.
Yeah.
But Now the libertarians have had such an influx into the mainstream Republicans, you can't tell the difference.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
In 2024, there was a major attempt by what was essentially a Republican interest group to pick a nominee of the Libertarian Party, and to do so to make said nominee essentially a mirror image of Trump, to eliminate one more option from the ballot for people who might be tempted not to vote for Trump.
Right. I mean, yeah. So our little
it didn't work, by the way. The Libertarians actually said, hey, no, we don't want Republicans nominating our candidate, and nominated someone who actually stays true to the libertarian part of libertarianism.
Did they, though?
Chase Oliver. I'm not saying he's perfect, but I mean, for the first time in a long time, the Libertarians had the second time in a long time now. Joe Jorgensen was technically pro-choice too, but there's a but here. For the first time in a long time, they had a candidate who was both pro-choice and against lowering the age of consent.
Well, that is just a twofer.
Joe Jorgensen was pro-choice, but she kept making noises like she believed that they did need to lower the age of consent after all.
Yes, what a crazy woman, believing
and of course
in statutory rape being a real thing.
And of course, in 2016,
if you just put it down to zero,
the Libertarian candidate literally was a Republican.
I mean, if you just put it down to zero, right, then there's no problem anymore. Crime solved.
But some of those crazy midterm Republicans have always been Republicans.
Yes, they always have been. You know,
Newt Gingrich was one of those crazy midterm Republicans who no one thought could possibly win election, and he won election. For a few years, they're like, okay, but he's just a joke. No one takes him seriously, and then he's suddenly Speaker of the House.
Yeah, that was a weird thing. Although I don't think our crazy midterm Republican here by the name of Alexander Portelli, I don't think he's going to make it.
Now, he seems to have flaws that he doesn't seem to have Newt Gingrich's money to hide his flaws. Let's put it that way.
Well, does Newt Gingrich have a criminal record?
Now.
Then.
I mean, but technically, yes, I think he does, but he might have been able to have it suppressed. I'd have to look it up again.
I mean, but this guy does. This guy, I mean, was all.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It's his successor, Dennis Hastert, who has the criminal record.
I mean, it's all over. It's all over the newspapers back when this guy Portelli decided to run for the mayor of Albany in 2013. That, you know, at age 19, he served 18 months for an ecstasy charge.
Oh, but you know what? I mean.
Yeah, it's not.
I take that less seriously than the fact that he started his interview with you claiming to be a regular guy, and then casually dropped into the 120-acre farm to argue his expertise on why his half-ass idea about farm subsidies would work when it never would.
Sure, but let's get to that. Well, I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, but you may want to be upfront with your constituent base.
Now, that's something I do think people should be honest about. I don't believe people should ever lie to voters.
It's not really a big deal, right? Yes, but I mean, you were selling drugs. Okay, fine. You went to prison. You did your time. You did that. But the fact that you hide your past so much.
Well, he's hiding his past. He's hiding his past. My guess is because it doesn't fit into the kind of Republican he wants to be.
Well, that's a good question. What kind of Republican does he want to be? I mean,
my guess is that law and order is going to figure into this somehow.
Well, ironically, there's nothing on his website that says law and order, right? I mean, he doesn't talk tough on crime unless you're a immigrant, where he gets right down just.
That's pretty law and order, though. Wanting to empower ICE implies that he's going to want to empower other cops and want to hide his felony record.
It may. I mean, who knows? I mean, some of those libertarians have certain contradictions like that, you know.
Hey, but on the other hand, why hide it? You've got a president who's
34
you've got an openly
times
convicted president.
Yeah, I don't understand it, right?
So why? Obviously, there's no reason to hide a felony anymore because Republicans will eat that shit up as proof the Democrats are out to get you.
Right. That's what. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, hides it.
Imagine how that would work on the campaign trail. I was only 19 years old, and the Democrats were already out to stop my burgeoning political career. Prove them wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways you could spin it, right? But I mean, apparently his first campaign was really crazy, right? So that news came out, and he gets basically kicked off the Libertarian Party because
yeah, that doesn't shock me.
Right, they kick him out. He no longer can run for mayor. So then all of a sudden his mother, Teresa Portelli, starts running as a write-in Green. And then there's talk of him being her like secretary of her, you know, the second in command, the
deputy mayor, chief of staff, whatever.
Chief of staff is what the word I was looking for there. So, and then everyone's like, well, wait a minute. If he's the chief of staff, does that mean she's just going to like just put all his ideas into play? And, you know, he got like 1% of the vote, or I think it was hard to find exact numbers.
That's a fascinating little trick.
Yeah.
Run your mother as a straw candidate and be poised to be her right-hand man.
Yep, that was what the rumor was, and you know, it all went to hell. I mean, I don't know how much true it is, but that's what I've been reading all over. I've been doing a lot of research.
That's a very good story, whether it's true or not.
I mean, you got to give him credit for being creative, right? I mean, he's out, so hey, mom, can you just be a write-in Green candidate?
That's if true, that's classic.
It is. I mean, it's true that she ran. That's true. And it's true that he was kicked out of the Libertarian Party.
Yeah.
Right? And they forced him out because they didn't want him. They thought he made the candidate. So, and then he disappears for a while, right?
Yeah.
Totally off. He shows up again in like 2016 in Colorado, which this totally negates the story he tells me on air, which you saw in the video. Right, of the whole 10 minutes that he's been living here his whole life. No, he started a company there in Colorado called Printly, which he actually started in New Hampshire.
Yeah,
but there's no record of it in New Hampshire. I searched every database there was to search for a company in New Hampshire. You didn't show up, so either he used a different name, but he forms this company called Printly, right? And this turns out to be
news story.
A clickbait news thing, right? I mean, kind of like a Daily Caller. I mean, Washington
now defunct, by the way. If you try to go to the Printly website now, you get a printing company.
Yeah. Well, that's what it was originally. It was supposed to be a printing company.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that actually shows up with his articles or posts still like that is that he's got a dead Twitter/X account that you can find that'll have some of it, and they're crazy stories, right? I mean, and then after that, he spends like 4 years in Colorado, and by 2020 he's moved on to Vegas, and he's reopened up Printly again as another, and this time it seems like Printly's going to start selling masks during COVID,
of course,
right? And it's unclear if anything was ever sold, if anything ever happened with that. He talks about it on a podcast, right? This fringe podcast that he was a guest on a couple of times, where he talks about his businesses and he talks about how he made money.
We got to be careful about throwing stones. This is a fringe podcast. You've been a guest on a couple of times.
True. But I'm talking about a fringe
Nazi podcast.
No, it wasn't Nazi.
Libertarian.
Just investors, right? I mean, stuff with really dubious investment quality.
The grifty investment stuff.
The stuff like, telling you like, put all your money in, some kind of strange coin that the guy also has a lot of
I'm Jack. Buy Jack coin today.
That's right. That you find out may or may not really even exist, even in reality. So he's doing that, and he's moving his way And it's not clear, right, what he's done over the last like 10 to 13 years between that run in for mayor at 23 and now his run here. And he doesn't like to talk about it, as you saw, right? And I asked very basic question. Now, that's usually the time that people want to tell you all their credentials. And all they can say is that I'm an average Joe who may or may not have owned property or may be in real estate.
May not have run several businesses.
Yeah. It's like, so where are we going here? What are your qualifications? I wanted to ask them at the end of the interview, but I knew that once you push back on these guys that, they're out.
Well, yeah. Once you started talking to him about the nitty gritty of his wanting to cancel foreign aid and cut the subsidy to farmers for growing for foreign markets.
Yeah,
he was quick to run for the hills. He couldn't actually talk about his policy in a coherent way or argue for it, and he started complaining about a hostile interview when it wasn't really that hostile. You were trying to get him to.
I was just trying to see what he was going to say, right? I mean, because my example was, you're a sheep farmer, right? And if you sell 1,000 sheep, right, and that costs you $20 a sheep, say, to sell them, right? If I cut you down to 500 sheep in the market can be sold, well, yeah, your price has to go up. It's got to go up, right? I mean, at least 50% because you still need, 2,000 or whatever to cover your bills.
You need the same amount of money to pay your mortgage, which is the biggest thing for any farmer usually, and the problem most recent mortgage on the farm.
That and the problem with our farming system is that after 1970, Nixon got in there and he made the farm subsidies tied to overproduction, not underproduction. So if you don't have a big farm, then you can't play with the big game and you don't make the money, right? I mean, because you need the subsidy because you're going to have to grow it's not like 100 head of cattle. You need 10,000, 100,000 or whatever it is to get the maximum subsidy to cover the cost of those cattle. Otherwise, there's no point in even raising them. You might as well just put windmills up on the property and walk away or sell it to a data center.
Might as well. Now, traditionally, Republicans were pretty big on farm subsidies.
They were.
It was the Ronald Reagan era that had Mike Doonesbury's parents singing in an old comic strip, "My country 'tis of the sweet land of subsidy."
Well, wasn't that the big thing, right? I mean, the big
pay people not to grow. That was Reagan's thing. Pay farmers not to grow crops that we don't need, that aren't selling right now.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, that makes sense, right? I mean, you want to stabilize the market, so you're going to have to do something, right? So if these guys can't sell, I mean, and when he said that, well, you'll sell at low price. No, you can't sell below a certain point, right? Otherwise, you're just losing money.
Now, unless you go with the social credit. Well, the whole idea of social credit is that everyone who agrees to sell at a loss should receive free money from the government.
Well, that would happen. Or, you have, but again, that's a subsidy and he doesn't really want subsidies. He wants to get
I know. But I've just always found that I've always thought that farm subsidies seem to be like as close to the social credit as we've ever gotten.
It is. I mean, it is. I mean, you agree not to do to lower the market value of this by overproducing or that and buying up your neighbor, and I give you an X amount of dollars to ensure that you don't go bankrupt.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. But to say that foreign aid is bad because you don't like paying stuff, I mean, I don't understand that. I mean,
you got to remember that the whole foreign aid is bad thing is one of these fringe positions that comes out in the midterm. That's why Donald Trump couldn't run on canceling all foreign aid. Just brought in Elon Musk to do it on the down low, and then disavowed him in a way that made it all Musk's fault and not Trump's.
Well, he got lucky on that one, but I mean, but it's sticking, right? I mean, you're hearing it more and more.
Yeah.
Right, and it's strange for people that say they want America to be this really powerful and prominent nation in the world. One of the best ways to do that is through foreign aid, which was going to be my next point I was going to get to, right? I mean, because if you don't, if you help a country out when they're in need, right? You tend to build a lot of goodwill, and then all of a sudden they start saying, well, maybe I'll buy that American car, or I'll buy this, or I'll buy that. And then, it turns out that when you do that, every dollar spent on foreign aid comes back to you as $8 in the exports you just sent over there.
That's true. That is true. And there's a lot of other things that go into it too, like soft power and maintaining imperial lines of influence.
Now, of course, that is the negative side, but what you're getting the soft power side, right?
But that's you notice he's not thinking about the negative side. No. He's thinking about, it costs too much money, which is generally a lie that is told by people who want to distract from the fact that it's all the money we give to defense contractors and state cops that's really costing the federal government so much money, because that all goes through that Pentagon that's never passed an audit.
Well, I agree with you that is it, but this isn't really costing us money, because if you said
no, it doesn't. It doesn't cost
$70 billion
any money. But that Republicans believe foreign aid puts us in the hole.
Oh, I know, and that's what I wanted to get to see if he had any real ideological issues with it. And as you can see, there isn't. I think he just found it, right? He said went down the list of all the things that have been really popular with Trump.
Yes,
because if you read his he calls it a platform. It reads more like a bullet point manifesto. It's got so many things in it. It's got like 14 points. They were all Trump's. It's end foreign aid. Get rid of this. Tariffs. He loves tariffs. I don't think he has a clue. I probably should have started off with tariffs. But
if he's invested in Core Civic, he probably loves tariffs, because, if it has made in the USA on it, it's probably made in a prison, and Core Civic's getting a piece.
True. There is that, but they still have to buy their materials.
Oh, sure.
Outside, right? So Core Civic has to. Well, even though they're getting labor for like $2 an hour or less, and $2 is really on the high side. That might be in a Democratic state where they're like, oh, well, we can't really fully exploit them. You got to give them at least $2.
Well, Core Civic is renting the labor. The manufacturer worries about the.
That's true, but I'm just saying. But that's how it works, right? Like, like in California with the firefighters, right? They make like $3.50 an hour.
The state forest service and local fire departments won't hire you with the criminal record, which means the only place you're qualified to be a firefighter is in prison. And if you really want self-respect, you can have more self-respect in prison as a firefighter than you can have on the streets.
Which is why they never get out of prison, actually, because the law is that they can't hire them with the criminal background.
Mm-hmm.
So you got people like Kamala Harris, who kept a whole lot of people back in jail to ensure that each fire season they've got all this really cheap labor that's locked in.
And they're the most experienced and best trained firefighters. For wildfire fighters in the world, which is the scariest part of the whole thing. The best firefighters in the world can only work while they're in prison.
It is scary, right? Because it makes absolutely no sense. You want to reduce recidivism. You want to increase your quality of life in a community, right? Let these guys go out. Let these guys go out.
Not sure the ruling class has any concern for the average person's quality of life anymore.
They don't. But that's what you say, right? Isn't that what all those governors say, like Gavin Newsom and everybody? Well, we're here. Well, you need firefighters. These guys would stay there probably, forever for you if you gave them a job as a real firefighter.
Yes.
And with the real salary, with the real pay, and everyone would be able to say, oh, wow, that guy's, you could turn it all those stupid PSAs they love to create. And, instead of Willie Horton from the 80s, it would be such and such. And look, success story. Saved 38 people last year from burning alive in a campfire or whatever. But we don't do that because, it's much better for us to have cheap labor for these corporations that are running it. And that's why we want to. And the fact that the 13th Amendment only allows one type of slavery, and that's if you're stuck in prison.
Yes, that's
And
really important to remember when people talk about criminalizing the homeless too. Where do you think all the people Gavin Newsom's homeless sweeps pick up end up?
Yeah. So like I was getting, so totally bizarre platform like that. You have to really start wondering, what is it that these people think, these really fringe guys? Are they real believers, or are they just grifters?
Both. Some of them are real believers, some of them are just grifters, but
Because
history tells us that the true believers are always grifters too.
Yeah, but in this ideology, I think that
I think this guy Petronelli is more grifter than true believer across the board. He's going with what he thinks will give him a huge opportunity to make money on campaign donations right now.
I don't know. I think he wants his name out there. I mean, I think he sincerely wants to be elected.
Oh, I'm sure he does. Most people who run do on some level,
right? I mean, I don't think it's a game where he's just in there to do campaign financing fraud. I think he wants to get in there, and I think he wants to do something. I'm not really sure what. I mean, I think it's mostly line his pockets and become respectable. I mean, I think there's a distinct need for this guy to be seen as.
I think he wants to be respectable. He wants to be powerful. He wants to be important. He wants to line his pockets with whatever graft he can in office.
Yeah.
I also think he wants to line his pockets with campaign fraud along the way.
I don't know. I'm not going to make that claim yet because I don't know him, and I don't want.
This is just my guess based on my admittedly superficial read, based on the biographical information you were able to dig up and send, and the interview. I know it wasn't very much of an interview, but I consider it extremely revealing.
It was revealing. I mean,
if he were a true ideologue, he would have wanted to fight more.
That's what I was checking to see, and he didn't. He wants people. But a lot of the politicians now, they don't want to support their idea. Look at them. I mean, there's so many. We've flooded the market with so many potential outlet sources, right? From online to real media with what is it? AT&T, who created OAN, right, to give themselves a nice fighting chance against Fox News in the media market, and Newsmax and all those companies.
AT&T created OAN because they thought it would help Trump, but because they thought Trump would approve their buyout of Time Warner if they did it, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, but it was also because they wanted to, they needed to have something on that really right-hand side.
Sure.
That would give them a chance, right? During that, because once they got Time Warner, they needed to have something that they could fight with.
But of course, they didn't get Time Warner. No. Discovery Channel got it. And Discovery Channel is a bunch of scary right-wing nuts in the first place.
It is.
And Discovery Channel wants to sell their whole ball of wax. They were going to sell it to Netflix. Mm-hmm. That deal appears to be off. Though
it is off.
Though Netflix's advertising seems to be suggesting they're still getting the content they were expecting to get from it. Well, which I don't understand.
From what I understand, they did some side deal with Skydance Paramount. So they get a certain period of that content at a lower cost, and that made the business look a little bit more friendly to them. I mean, I don't know the whole ins and outs. I don't think anyone will ever know.
My guess is that they know that HBO's big appeal is to people actually watching HBO because the streaming audience doesn't trust HBO not to delete their content anymore. I mean, they deleted a bunch of shows that were not just. And when I say deleted, they didn't just cancel the shows, they unarchived the old episodes. And this was all original HBO Max content that was really popular with its audiences and was getting lots of views.
What stuff did they get rid of like that?
They got rid of and it's niche to you or me, but they got rid of a show that was extremely popular with millennial and younger queers, built around basically very good soap opera storytelling, but giving people who don't usually get represented in media their representation. Most of their representation is really white, and this show wasn't.
Was that show where they're like a dance group or something, and they were?
I wish it was more my niche and I could answer it better, but there's a lot of.
Well, I watch a lot of it.
I never had HBO Max, you got to remember, so I can only say what I read in the news at the time.
I've watched.
So basically, they deleted a bunch of their original content. Where if Netflix had done the same thing, you would have heard a public outcry because of all the people, but it was more muted. But the people who did complained loudly.
Well, I mean, that's the big problem, right?
Yeah,
that we're facing is monopolies, right? Which is interesting, right? Because this guy has a monopoly he doesn't like. It's power companies.
Yes,
and that's utilities, right? So he's glammed onto so in New York, our power's gone like through the roof, cost wise, right? People are paying 5, 6, maybe even 10 times more than they were 5 years ago.
He understands that's a deregulation problem more than a regulation or monopoly problem, doesn't he?
Well, I mean, it's yeah, he does. And this is where it gets really weird. I was hoping to ask him about this, but for a guy who's talking about all kinds of free stuff, I mean, free market stuff, right? Basically, he wants to create state-run utilities.
That's actually, allegedly good.
That's not bad. I mean, but it's just like, well, how do you get to this place, right? I mean, you're complaining about subsidies to farmers, and yet you're trying to create a state-run, which is going to have a lower cost and going to be subsidized, essentially by.
But I get why that makes sense potentially too, because that's something. That's state-run utilities that the data centers don't have to pay as much money for might actually appeal to certain donors in certain.
I would have to ask that question. I mean, what would? But I mean, but it also plays into that whole.
If big tech weren't totally against any sort of government. Mm-hmm. I would have expected someone in Silicon Valley to have been pushing loudly for state-owned utilities or nationally owned utilities long ago to lower their costs and for renting the bandwidth from the data centers.
Right, you would think so. But their problem is
they want to profiteer off everything, which means they want to privatize everything, which shoots themselves in the foot when it comes to the cost of electricity. And so the best they can do is negotiate a sweet deal for themselves that makes everybody else's rates higher.
Or, or like Elon Musk is doing right now in like Mississippi and Alabama, putting a crunch on gas turbines because he's buying up so many of them to start power. I mean, he's literally basically creating his own illegal power plants to power his data centers.
But the reason he's in Mississippi is because almost nothing is illegal there if you know how to do it.
Yeah, well, except for that, you still have to meet federal regulations when you're generating this much power, and he's decided to say, screw that.
Federal schmedral.
That's right.
I mean, Elon Musk was in a position to make sure that there wouldn't be any federal inspectors under his feet.
He kind of blew that, didn't he?
Yes and no. On the one hand, he kind of blew that. On the other hand, have they rehired any inspectors?
No, not yet. But for the long term, he blew it because he's not there making sure. I mean, he doesn't care how many planes crash because of AI air traffic controllers. He just cares that he has that contract. Yeah, but I mean, he's not going to get that contract right now. He's kind of persona non grata.
But he basically gave it to himself while Doge was still a thing, and nobody's taken it away from him.
Not yet, at least.
Not yet.
I'm sure everyone.
Now, there's the real test. Will the Democrats take Elon Musk's toys away? And my question, my perspective answer is no, but we're getting off topic.
It's definitely a no. It's definitely a no. They're waiting for. I mean, look, the reason why we have SpaceX is because Obama put him there.
Yes.
So, he's ready to flip flop again if he thinks that the next 5 or 6 years are going to be a Democrat controlled Senate and controlled House and everything else. He's going to switch on. Oh, I've seen the light.
And yet the Democrats he supports will be suspiciously similar to Trump.
I don't know if they'll be that similar, but
the Democrats are already suspiciously similar to Trump, and they supposedly hate Elon. Just imagine how similar to Trump how similar to Trump they'll be when Elon comes back to the party.
He's definitely going to be pushed that way, right? But I think in the first year or so, I think we're at a point with politics that we're going to see a lot more, at least on the surface, left leaning.
Well, they're going to try. I mean, I've noticed that the big buzzword, everybody who hates leftists is calling themselves a pragmatic progressive now instead of a moderate. But by pragmatic,
I haven't heard that one. Pragmatic.
I've seen it. I've been seeing it a lot.
Who's using that one
in various races?
Who's been using that one?
The big one is that Scott Wiener, who's a MAGA state senator in California, is being billed as and by MAGA state senator, I mean blue MAGA. He's a Democrat from the San Francisco area, supported by Gary Tan and company, who are MAGA donors on a federal level.
Gary. Isn't Gary the one who also wants to segregate San Francisco by your occupation and your job?
Wants to. Well, no. He wants to segregate the entire country that way. Ultimately, it's
I know, but he'd like to start, locally.
Yeah, he wants to run all he wants to run all the liberals out of San Francisco so it can be a open city for tech libertarians.
Right. Yeah.
And all the liberals includes running out all the poor people and people of color too, because they're the problem that the liberals won't solve.
Yeah. Well,
and all their big thing is they want San Francisco to be safe. And by safe, they push a police agenda that's as repressive as Trump's immigration agenda. And they accuse homeless people who you can see in their own videos are just smoking a cigarette on the street of using drugs openly. It's like, dude, that guy's smoking a cigarette. It's not even a joint. And if it were a joint, that's legal in San Francisco.
It's legal here in New York, and you don't see it on the street yet. So, I mean, I'm definitely thinking that maybe it's not as big a problem.
It's not. In the videos that they post is proof of their own shit. The worst thing you see anybody doing on the street is smoking a cigarette. But they insist the people they're videoing are doing things they're not doing in the videos.
Well,
look at all these people shitting on the street and doing drugs. They're standing around and one of them is smoking a cigarette. I don't see anybody defecating or doing drugs. I mean, I suppose smoking a cigarette is technically doing drugs because of nicotine.
It is, but so is
nobody thinks of it that way.
No, and it's perfectly legal.
Yeah.
So is drinking a cup of coffee because you're caffeine.
Yeah. It's true.
Caffeine,
or soda.
Yeah. Or soda. Terrible activities. Better get those morality police out.
But then we criminalize ecstasy and not caffeine.
That's true. Hey, speaking of that, that's another great thing about his policy, right? So he's got this weird tax plan, and it's not quite clear exactly what it's about, right? So he starts saying that first of all, I mean, I don't think he actually read anything about the history of income tax. So he tries to say, and I have it. Yes, I have it right here. Used only to fund World War I. He wants to say that the tax, right? Which, of course, the 60s.
There was a specific income tax that was passed to fund World War I. This is true. That's not the same as the Internal Revenue Act after World War II, but that's a whole nother thing.
That's a different one. But this is the act he's talking about, right? But he's linking it to the 1913 16th Amendment.
Yes.
Right. Which had nothing to do with World War I.
Yeah. 1913 was the year before World War I. And the U.S. didn't join World War I until 1917, 1918.
So it's pretty good right? I mean, and actually the act starts in 1894 with the Wilson-Gorman Tariff Act, right? Which was actually ironically designed to remove tariffs because everyone realized that tariffs were horribly regressive and were squeezing the poor far more than they were squeezing the rich, because the rich, weren't buying as much stuff out of their salaries for that stuff.
The rich were the people. The rich were the people who supported tariffs because they owned the American manufacturing. They were the ones who wanted their industry protected.
Of course.
Now, mind you, I do want to say this just for the record, is that the way the United States became the country that was ready to jump in to the Spanish-American War and become a world power was by making competing foreign products really expensive with tariffs and giving lots of protection to American monopolists.
Sure, obviously. It was always about that. But what I'm just getting at is that, so he's trying to tells you that that's World War I riches, and then he's got this thing where it's, he's no one under $1 million is going to pay taxes.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. And it's like, you can't make it. This is a revenue killer. This is a revenue killer because what he's doing. Let's talk about income tax. Income tax is paid on income. Landlords collect capital gain. A investor like Elon Musk is not collecting a salary from any of his companies because he doesn't he no longer has offices in any of those companies. He has that huge severance agreement with dang it, the electric car company, Tesla. He has a huge severance agreement with Tesla, which was killed by Biden's Supreme Court and then reinstated by Trump's Supreme Court.
Well, that wasn't he didn't leave that. He's still CEO.
Is he CEO again now?
He's still CEO.
Okay, so I guess he decided not to get fired. Okay, so he may still have a paycheck to get taxed.
That's part of the reason why they never got rid of him, was because the severance package was so ungodly huge, and that's why they actually upped it this time, right? Because
so I'm using my wrong example. Jeff Bezos.
They were afraid that that if they did that, the stock was gonna tank, and then they'd be left holding.
Yeah. So wrong example. Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates is a better example.
They're the ones who are getting everything through capital gains. And that's
they've divested from all their companies,
and that's why their capital gains. And he wants to actually reduce capital gains tax.
Yes, of course.
Platform,
of course.
So, yeah, I was going to get to that too in the taxes.
And if you're cutting taxes, so nobody who makes under $1 million in income is paying taxes, and you're also cutting capital gains, then the only people who are paying a lot of taxes are a group of CEOs who are now going to funnel their money into stock options instead.
Yes, absolutely. I was getting to that too. I mean, but the thing is, I don't think he actually understands that. I think it's
of course not.
I think it was just, these were things that were popular and that everybody else on the libertarian saw tickets, and he's like, oh, I'll take that one. Like it was like he was going to a buffet. He was like, oh, I like that idea. Put that here. Put that here. Put that here. And it's great. And as you pointed out in your video when you commented on it, he doesn't understand that the Treasury Department has always housed the IRS.
Yeah,
it's always been there. Yeah. So
IRS is part of the Treasury Department.
I was trying to get him to say, well, what kind of organization does he want? So basically, all of this is a name change, is what he's really talking about. What
it sounds like.
I mean,
I sort of get what he's saying. I don't think he understands how it works. What it sounds like is he wants to get rid of all these cabinet agencies and have the cabinet department do things directly without the cabinet agency.
Maybe.
But the cabinet department is the secretary of whatever in his staff. It's through the bureaucracy of the agencies that the departments are able to do things.
Yeah. It's unclear what he wanted. So let's see. So then if you move on, he comes to tariffs, right? And he wants tariffs to do everything. He thinks tariffs are going to bring your job back somehow. I mean, and
not by themselves. There would need to be some sort of investment in something.
Exactly.
The American system of Henry Clay, which built our country up using high tariffs, also was very big on big federal investments in infrastructure that did help the wealthy, but also benefited everybody else who needed a road too.
Yeah, I mean, it's people forget, right? I mean, I love it when you hear libertarians. Well, big government didn't help us cross the country with trains. I was like, no, they literally did.
It was big government that built the transcontinental railroad. Do you think that the two railroads would cooperate to build a train and meet in the middle if somebody wasn't paying them both?
No. Not only
and
that,
then on top of that, they were competing. Whoever got there first was going to get paid extra.
That's right. So, it was only because of the federal land grants that they could even do it. I mean, if they had to go out there and buy all that land themselves, none of those companies had the capital to do it.
Well, that was the thing. Yeah, the railroad was given their grants federally and it was the federal government that had to buy people out.
Yep, and then they exclusively had that control of that land.
Mm-hmm. And had significant police powers on that land, I might add, which brings us to the Pinkertons.
And also had the ability to sell that land any way they wanted, for any value they wanted, which was the real key. If you read, Henry George wrote a great book about it, about how much of a scam it really was.
Dodge City, Kansas was built by people who, not built, drastically built up by people who strategically bought land at cheap prices from the railroad after the railroad was given control of all that land.
Mm-hmm. And if you get free land, right, no matter what you sell it, it's a profit.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
As long as you haven't done anything to it, it's a profit. And half of it they never touched. I mean, they use a very small ribbon of it to put the tracks on.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else was untouched, and you sell that for the same price you sell for close to the property where the train is. That's a massive profit margin you've just made.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't understand tariffs. He doesn't understand that. And I wanted to hit him with the fact that the Fed shows that 90% of the tariffs are going to be paid by us, the final consumer.
Yes.
That a German think tank put the figure to 96%.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, that was in a Forbes and Fortune article. Both had comments about that, but we never got there. I mean, because I want to see. I mean, here's a guy who says that he wants to cut taxes. I mean, how can you cut income tax and then you just put a huge tax in tariff, which, by the way, does not get paid to the government after you pay that extra money, right? I mean, that just goes to that's like being taxed by Walmart.
Yeah, Walmart. We're paying Walmart after they've given the government the money, so we're just subsidizing Walmart's taxes.
That's right. We're giving Walmart. That's a Walmart tax.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a sales tax where that money literally is put aside and then gets sent over. Mm-hmm. But
tariffs and value-added taxes are always paid by the customer in the end. That's why Canada's grocery prices are so much higher than ours.
That's right.
Also because of the growers compact in order to maintain a certain price for the farmers that they do instead of subsidies.
It is. The other one I wanted to ask him about is just because I find it kind of odd. I mean, and he's supposed to be a farmer, is that he wants to make it legal for the trucking. So right now, your average truck is 80,000 pounds.
Yeah.
He wants to go to 102. Supposedly 11 tons extra, right? Well, it's a little bit of an infrastructure problem, right? Most bridges are designed for each vehicle to be 80,000 pounds that go across them.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of extra wear and tear on roads because they're designed for 40-ton vehicles.
Yeah.
So now you shoot it up to 51 tons. And I wanted to know, I mean, but the other thing is it's just such a minuscule extra amount, right? That there's almost no advantage. You have to almost double it to get any real advantage in costs on shipping. You'd have to go to 160,000 pounds gross vehicle weight.
And then that starts to get into the point of being completely impractical unless you're completely redesigning your infrastructure.
Right. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I don't see this, right? I mean, it makes more sense to start financing trains again. Then you can go 10,000 tons per train and move it.
It makes sense. It makes more sense to finance trains, but truck companies have to sell trucks, and they can't sell as many trucks if they're with the trains. Though you would think anyway, that's the excuse. But there's lots of that's what they're really worried about. What they're really worried about is losing the station to the point to point hauls where the train brings it here, the truck takes it here, and then final delivery is a truck from that location. That's what they're worried about losing.
Trucking started early on, right? It was from the state. It was from the delivery. It was the final 10 or 15 miles from the train station to the delivery. And maybe we should get back to that. I think at least because why do we need guys driving 3 and 4 days across the country?
I mean, technically we don't.
Well, I mean, in the 1950s, right? The golden era of trucking, right? That's when, the long haul trucker really becomes a thing, right?
Yeah.
Our buddy Ike builds all the interstate highways, makes it possible, finally puts the final nail in trains pretty much. Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's kind of crazy. But I have no idea. Didn't get to talk to him about it. I mean, there's just no rational. I mean, in most cases, you wouldn't be able to drive a 102,000 pound truck across most bridges in small communities. So it wouldn't help the local farmer. It would help maybe some of the larger companies working on interstates. There'd be fewer opportunities for them to be busted for being overweight.
Well, that's really the thing, is that big companies don't have to worry about being busted for being overweight anymore.
But the other thing is they charge that to the driver usually. So they don't give a shit.
That's true, depending. It really depends on your business model, though. If your business model is owner-operator, then you don't care.
Yeah. Well, owner-operator, you care. But I mean,
if you're the owner-operator. What I say, if your business model is owner-operator, I mean, if you're one of these companies that puts a name on your truck, but is actually hiring a freelancer. FedEx comes to mind.
Subcontracting it out. You're talking about that. Yeah. Yes. I was talking about the actual OO, the actual guy who owns the truck and operates it.
Yeah, but it's the owner-operator and the subcontractor who get screwed in that deal.
Yeah.
Though the big company that still employs its own drivers does do better off of that.
A little, but they often fine or find the driver too for it.
True.
Like UPS, if you got a ticket when I worked there, if you got a ticket at UPS,
they find you,
that you had to pay the ticket. It wasn't on them, you paid it. So, and you might be fired.
Yeah.
Although they had that whole working while fired thing going on, it was kind of a unique experience.
That's fascinating. Working while fired.
You're fired.
We'll see more. I'm sure that's something that this guy supports.
I don't think it's the real deterrent they think it is, because they still pay you.
Yeah.
Because I had it happen to me when I had an accident. But, and they pay you, and then they make you go through training again, and then you don't lose anything. So it's I don't know. It's just like, why didn't you just say that why didn't you just say I'm on probation?
Yeah, that makes more sense.
So I didn't understand that. I mean, I wanted to get to that, but we didn't. But overall, I mean, he's the kind of cat. I mean, I talked to the Libertarian vice president, who I have to candidate last time.
Sure, Mike Termott.
Mike Termott, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, he was one of the presidential candidates originally, and ended up as the running mate on the ticket as a.
And I have to say,
we appreciate you to the hardcore, old-fashioned conservative gold standard libertarians out there.
Right, and well, this kid's got a gold standard. He wants to remove back to the. I mean, that's how you know that he. But that guy you could at least have a conversation with, right? You could get to the ideas of what will, and it turns out that he wasn't as right wing as he, I mean, at some point he was like, yeah, well, you're gonna have to have regulations there. And I'm like, wait.
Yeah. At some point you're going to have regulations.
Not if you're a true libertarian, right? I mean, the regulations are, you get to pick up your toys and walk away if you don't.
Yeah, but the thing to remember is that while there are a lot of ideologues, most libertarians are just Republicans who are fine with abortion and legal weed.
I don't even know if they're that. I mean, I think
they used to be. That used to be the thing. Is a libertarian was a Republican who was pro-choice and into legal weed, and who generally was for queer rights. Though there was an attempt in the Libertarian Party to dial back all that queer rights stuff. That didn't quite work out. That was one of Chase Oliver's big things. Is he wasn't going to abandon the queer rights platform.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's a positive. I mean, being for people's civil rights is always good.
Especially if you call yourself a libertarian.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It kind of seems necessary.
Yes.
But I mean, to me, it seems that the new Libertarian Party is just they don't want to pay taxes.
Well, I mean, there's always been an element of that anyway, but that's become the Republican Party since the 1990s. Those big, well, even further than that, since the 1980s. The guy who passed the guys who passed the Prop 13, that's the one, Prop 13 in California, Howard Jarvis and Paul, what's his name?
Oh yeah, he ended up in a wheelchair.
Well, he's the guy. No, the other guy is the sidekick is the guy who ended up dying of AIDS.
Oh
no. Conservative Republican who hates poor people who ends up dying of AIDS.
Well, it can happen.
And Howard Jarvis, but they started out as libertarians. Howard Jarvis was frequently a Libertarian Party of California candidate for governor, and was at one point the National Libertarian Party's candidate for president. But everything he ever accomplished was by influencing the Republican Party.
Paul Gann is the name.
Paul Gann is the guy. Now, he was a Republican. He was affiliated with the Libertarians for anti-tax stuff, but he was mostly a pro-cop, protect your real estate value guy.
Well, they always have to be that, right? I mean, that's what it is. It's no taxes and, this hyper-Lockean vision of property rights.
Yeah, but they don't want. But the traditional Libertarian Party doesn't want cops; they want private security.
Well, it's true; they do want that, which is even more problematic for their private property thing, because how is it if we all have our own private security, right? What if I build a bigger and better private security that can come over to your place and just take you out?
Well, this is the whole thing. This is feudalism, not libertarianism. And eventually, eventually is when all the fighting stops, feudalism will coalesce into monarchy again.
That's right.
This is why I am not an anarcho-capitalist and don't believe anarchy and capitalism are compatible in any way.
Sure they are. Think about it.
Because you stop having anarchy as soon as the private security companies actually have police powers, which of course they will in the absence of any government.
They'd have to. I mean, otherwise, why would you listen to them?
Which brings us to the cyberpunk role-playing games, Cyberpunk 2020, which now exists as a video game, Cyberpunk 2077.
I've never heard of it.
And Shadowrun,
Don't know
where
those.
the cops were corporations. and who contracted out to cities and were licensed with police powers by the city government, who didn't use any of those police powers themselves, but contracted with somebody like Lone Star or Knight Errant or NYPD Incorporated. Because, of course, the NYPD were smart enough fascists to form a co-op immediately.
Hey, you got to give them that, man.
You know, the NYPD, all these police beneficial associations are the infrastructure for the police departments to immediately become private security companies when this new libertarian police state happens. And then they won't just have all the power, but they'll have all the power and get paid more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I still think that's not.
That's Peter Thiel's fantasy, is the cops will be working for him.
I know it's their fantasy. I know it's their dream. But what I think
they're not that far from it now.
I think they are further from it.
You know, they have that in San Francisco already.
I know.
The patrol specials. Anybody with a police academy certificate and a license can sell police powers to business owners, can sell their services as cops.
I always thought that was a lie, but remember that was the basis of the film Cuffs.
Yes, it is.
Which is not just a terrible film; it's a terrible idea. Period.
It is a terrible idea, and what and the film, but to its credit,
if the film had
credit, as bad a movie as it is, it shows what a terrible idea it is. Because the guy who's trying to get control of Christian Slater's dead brother's patrol special is, in fact, a criminal.
No. I'm just saying, if it had just been a little bit better, it might have actually blown the light up and said people would have thought, wait a minute, this is a really bad idea. But I was like, no, that doesn't.
I admit I like that movie, just for all its flaws.
Oh, you like that one?
I like that one. There's a very funny Easter egg in that one for people who are fans of the Resident Evil franchise. Christian Slater's girlfriend, who only appears in small bits at the beginning and end of the movie, is Mila Jovovich.
Is it?
Yes. Extremely young Mila Jovovich is Christian Slater's girlfriend in Cuffs. She appears in the opening and the closing.
Really? It's been so long since I've seen the movie.
In the opening, she tells him she's pregnant.
Oh.
And in the closing, he appears to be leaving her because he's scared of being pregnant. And at the end, he's become such a responsible business owner that he now wants to be a husband and father. So despite everything, there's a sort of Reagan message at the end, which is the biggest reason it's not a good movie. If they had gotten rid of that sort of Reagan-esque story arc.
Well, you know, I mean, it was 92. It was still George W. Bush. You still had to be for the family, right?
Plus, Christian Slater had got the job that he got because his mother was the biggest casting director in Hollywood.
That's how he got all his jobs.
Without Mary Jo Slater, Christian Slater has no career.
That's how he got all his jobs, including the Star Trek role, including
the Mr. Robot role, where he's actually brilliant. He was only able to work up to that because of everything he had gotten. Though I'll be honest, he's great in Heathers.
Heathers, I don't like that movie.
I don't like that movie, but he plays it well.
My preferred Christian Slater movie is actually Pump Up the Volume.
My guilty confession is that my favorite Christian Slater movie is Mobsters.
Mobsters?
Mobsters is a tremendously good gangster movie. It's really more than anything else a throwback to the sort of pre-code 30s good guy gangster movie where you're rooting for the gangsters. If you know what I mean.
I've never seen that one, but
Christian Slater plays Lucky Luciano.
A young Lucky Luciano.
Young Lucky Luciano. That's the whole point. This is about the
late 20s, early 30s.
The fundamental growing point of their careers during the high point, but starting to taper off end of Prohibition. Mm. The old gangsters, the Mustache Pete's, are played by Anthony Quinn and F. Murray Abraham, so they didn't flinch on the bad guy roles.
F. Murray Abraham.
the Meyer Lansky character is the Meyer Lansky actor is Patrick Dempsey, who I hate to say, because, you know, Patrick Dempsey deservedly gets a lot of shit, but he does a good job. Richard Grieco plays Bugsy Siegel.
Iron Eagle.
Iron Eagle 3.
1 and 3.
No, Iron Eagle 1 is the kid from Murder 1 who plays Neil Avedon in Murder 1. Jason something.
Is it Jason Gedrick? That's it.
Jason Gedrick is the first Iron Eagle, yes. Richard Grieco is in the second Iron Eagle after Jason Gedrick gets killed.
That's right. Well, he doesn't get killed because he shows up in the third or fourth.
No, he's not in the third one. Is Iron Eagle is Lou Gossett and isn't connected to either Richard Grieco or Jason Gedrick. Is about Lou Gossett working in an air show with World War II flying aces and getting hired for some mercenary job in South America.
I know, with the German Nazi pilot who flies a bird in tan air.
Horst Buchholz, who ironically was a communist.
Yeah, well, you know, you got a paycheck's a paycheck.
His first movie ever, he actually plays a communist, which is hilarious. But no, his second movie ever. His first ever movie is The Magnificent Seven. His second ever movie is 1, 2, 3 with Jimmy Cagney.
Is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's the East German that the Coca-Cola president's daughter is marrying.
I didn't know that.
1, 2, 3 is a classic movie about the evils of capitalism, and how awful it is to be a middle management guy working for Coca-Cola in the 1950s and 60s.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a rough week when you have to put down your little third world.
Instead of managing the business. Instead of managing the business in Berlin like he's supposed to be doing, Jimmy Cagney has to spend all of the movie running errands for
the CIA.
For the CEO
and the CIA. as you put down sugar revolts in Honduras and everywhere else, you know.
Yeah, no, it is amazing and thought-provoking, Jim. Which is true. It's about capitalism, but it's anti-capitalist in its depiction of capitalism.
I've never seen it.
It's Screwball. It's James Cagney's last movie. He doesn't sing. He's just a comedian, and he talks really fast. He talks about as fast as he talked in real life. So it's got that bam, bam, bam sort of comedy to it. And which is really its big selling point. Its weakness is that it goes with that bam, bam, bam vaudeville comedy a little late in the game for vaudeville comedy in Hollywood.
I thought Cagney's last movie was Ragtime by Milos Forman. And
that's when he comes back. This was his original last movie before his return. His farewell picture, so to speak.
Before before the Bills packed up in retirement and you had to come back.
Yeah, he did a couple of other things in retirement too, but it was his official last movie at the time. And then he ended up doing the comeback for Ragtime before he died. I forgot about that.
Wow. Well, I mean, but getting back on our topic, though, we digressed off. You know, I mean, but this is what happens during a midterm, right? All these fringe guys come out, and the problem is that they keep on coming out. And
at least this guy is a grifter. It's the ideologue fringe guys who end up doing the most damage because they keep running, and eventually they get normalized and elected.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do they always? If they themselves don't, they at least normalize the ideas enough, unfortunately, so that they become mainstream for the mainstream Republican to pick up.
Yes.
I mean, look at it. I mean, what was it? Mitt Romney, right?
Well, my favorite example is Joe Scarborough, who was an extreme whack job, was normalized and elected because of Newt Gingrich.
That's right.
And Joe Scarborough, who is still an extreme whack job in many ways, is now considered, a comfortably liberal ally by many Democrats.
Well, it's amazing. You put him on MSNBC for the last, 15 years?
But you know who's really to blame for that? Even more than MSNBC. Bill Maher.
Oh, yeah, Bill Maher, yeah.
Bill Maher is the guy who normalized Joe Scarborough to the American public as a nice guy who's funny.
Yeah, that's true. But, the funny thing about Bill Maher is he's tried to give a lot of people rehabilitations.
Oh, yeah. Coulter.
And Coulter he had on all the time. He's, he seems to like...
He's going to be there to rehabilitate Trump.
He already is.
Yes.
I mean, he's what was it last time? He was saying that, he's not really as bad as he seems. And, those liberals that are crying about this or that, they got to get over it because,
Don't get me started.
He's just got to face it. He's March.
That's why they've benefited so much from each other's careers. They find that same level.
Yeah, he is trash. But I'm thinking that Maher is more dangerous than Scarborough.
He is. He's the one who he got Scarborough a TV career. He made Scarborough a TV personality while he was still in Congress. He gave one of the worst Republicans in Congress at the time a ticket to the hearts and minds of liberal Comedy Central and HBO viewers.
Well, was he on Comedy Central then, or was he on CBS?
He was on Comedy Central first. His success on Comedy Central got his Comedy Central show picked up by ABC.
That was it, ABC.
His comments about 9/11
got him
the
fired.
Last time I agreed with him on anything.
Got him fired.
Got him fired by ABC.
Sent over to
he said, we asked for this. We were treating people like shit. We should have realized this was going to happen on some level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but then he jumped in, and then his whole thing was opposing the war on terror. But despite his attitude about 9/11, once he was working for HBO, he was continually talking about how instead of fighting a war, we needed to run our country more like Israel.
Yeah, he's got a weird, for being an atheist, right?
Yeah.
He has a real hatred of Muslims.
He does. He really does. But I believe it's a shtick because he adopted this hatred of Muslims while working at HBO and really establishing himself as a we should do things more like Israel guy after the "we asked for 9/11" comment.
Maybe that was.
I would say that his Islamophobia is how he rehabilitated himself, opportunistically speaking.
True. I mean, because he got involved with the new
his work with HBO and with the New Atheists and with Ariana Huffington and RFK Jr.
I've always really respected Richard Dawkins' science. But his views on Islam are absolutely appalling.
But it turns out, like Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins' science had some holes in it too that was based on his political beliefs.
Not as much.
Not as much because Richard Dawkins is a physicist and Sam Harris is a neuroscientist. And Richard Dawkins' racism doesn't directly impact his science as aggressively as Sam Harris's racism impacts his, but even then there are still some holes there because of his politics.
Sure, you get that, but I mean,
and most recently Richard Dawkins has gone back on some of his own science claims as he says, well, I'm a cultural Christian.
Yeah, I've never understood that. Well, I mean, I can understand that to a degree. I mean, his fellow traveler Ayaan Hirsi Ali has dropped atheism and is a Christian now. Christianity does have a huge cultural component. You can't deny that. I mean,
yes. And I'm glad he admits he's a cultural Christian because that makes his Islamophobia more understandable than the claim to atheism. Yeah. Because if his real problem was atheism, he should hate Christians worse than Muslims. Christians have killed more atheists.
That's right.
He should also be more supportive of pro-atheist political projects like China and the USSR.
Yeah, well, wasn't it Sam Harris who actually said that at one point he wouldn't actually vote for an atheist as a president? I think it was one of them because he didn't trust him or something. It was some
Sam
crazy...
Harris said that he wouldn't actually vote for most atheists for president. Yes. And there was somebody else, I can't remember who it was. It was one of these guys who was a big atheist, but who would always go back. But all our morality comes from Christianity.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, I don't know. But I mean, but it's those guys who have been a big component in motivating these, these kind of on the edge.
Whereas the Christians have never been all that big into their own morality when it comes to their politics. Who was our first divorced president? Ronald Reagan.
Yes,
Who was our second divorced president? Donald Trump. Who would have been our third divorce? Who would have been our second divorced president if he had won? John McCain.
That's right.
So despite all the Republican trumpeting of traditional marriage, the Democrats aren't the one. The Democratic presidents are the ones who haven't been divorced.
Yeah, maybe they're just better at not getting caught cheating.
No, Bill Clinton was caught. His wife was better at openly forgiving him inside and making a big deal out of it.
He was caught, but I mean, and of course, everyone knew about Kennedy.
Well, and that's the funny part.
And Lyndon B. Johnson.
Kennedy's mystique is exaggerated. Kennedy was having much less sex than people say because he was physically unable to.
Well, yeah.
That doesn't mean that he didn't want to have a lot of sex and that he wasn't helping Bobby get sex on the sly. But Kennedy himself was in a wheelchair a lot of the time and was covering it up and was in too much pain to really be able to do much.
I like the fact that Ike had his mistress like down the street from the White House.
Well, that's the thing is like Ike's mistresses. Ike would have brought back the official mistress if he could have gotten away with it. He had gotten bashed by the Army for his open relationship with his Jeep driver. He actually she got fired from her job as a civilian Jeep driver, and he got the only blemish on his military record.
What can you do? Things happen. It puts a whole new emphasis on Ike.
And yet, Ike is the one who was in bed with Billy Graham for his whole presidency and was trying to teach other Americans to be more Christian, despite his own unwillingness to live up to the values.
Right? Ike was basically a fringe candidate. I mean, well, think about it. He had no political background. He didn't make his decision until the day of the nomination when the Republicans beat the Democrats to it.
Well, you know why he made it. You know why he made his.
He was waiting.
Decision?
He was waiting to see who was going to give him the best deal. Is what I've always read.
Well, more than anything else, he was planning. Originally, he was planning to actually replace Truman on the ticket. There was an agreement at one point between Ike and Truman that Ike would replace Truman on the ticket. Mm-hmm. And that was the reason Ike and Truman fell out, is Ike didn't live up to that bargain and ran as a Republican instead. But the reason Ike decided to run as a Republican at the last minute was because otherwise MacArthur would have been the nominee. And Ike was wondering whether he could beat MacArthur in a general election and thought it would be easier if he was the Republican nominee and MacArthur wasn't running.
Yeah. I mean,
at the same time, I'm totally glad the totally fascist MacArthur wasn't president of the United States, but Ike was kind of fash too.
Well, he was the kind of fascist that hid it better.
Well, I mean, he was the sort of guy who wanted more civil rights at home to cover up the fact that we were essentially supporting Nazis in Eastern Europe.
Well, true, but I'm just saying, but he hid it by, make this nice veneer, right? I mean, Did he really care that much about civil rights, or did he just?
He didn't. I mean, that's the whole thing. Is that he was kind of upset by Brown versus Board of Education.
Because it forced his hand.
He had appointed Earl Warren, believing that Earl Warren would be more of a Republican, and less of more of a Cold War Republican, I should say, and less of a pre-war Republican. And he thought that Warren was reliable on the anti-civil rights side because of interning Japanese. But it turned out that what Warren was willing to do in a war and what Warren was willing to do in time of peace, and perhaps Warren even had a guilty conscience over what he did during the war, Warren turned out to be the biggest closet liberal in history. My father, who admired Warren, had the totally wrong belief that Clarence Thomas would turn out to be an even bigger closet liberal than Warren because of some of the things he had said on race when he was a younger judge and cared about racism more.
Yeah, that's one of those weird, perplexing things I don't understand. I mean, I don't understand how a guy who literally lived through segregation and so much of it is willing to openly return us to that.
Well, I mean, the thing is he really bought in. Either he really bought into all the.
I'm just thinking that he figures he's going to be dead soon, so it doesn't really. Well,
there's that too. He's in the long run, he's going to be dead.
You figure it out.
But he's lived an awful long time. If he was planning to be dead in a few years when this started, he's lived longer than he expected.
I mean, I'm taking the paycheck and checking out, right? I mean, that's what it seems like because, I mean, this is going to be. Luckily, he doesn't have any kids. I mean, that might have changed it for him, right? Because if he knew, like,
maybe he didn't have kids on purpose.
If he knew, like,
his wife didn't have kids on purpose. Maybe maybe Ginny Thomas is racist and didn't want kids with Clarence.
Yeah, maybe I think it's more like Ginny Thomas couldn't handle it. She's not. She has some serious mental issues.
I think it. I honestly, I don't like to psychoanalyze too much, but I believe that while he considers his marriage an exception, I think it's possible they didn't have kids because Clarence Thomas is anti-miscegenation.
He could be. It could be a weird. It could be. I don't know. Whatever it is,
he's taken a lot of. He's taken a lot of white supremacist positions that only make sense if on some level he himself has internalized that and considers it appropriate, as long as he keeps profiting from it and doesn't have to suffer the consequences himself.
Yeah. That I don't know. I don't understand it. I can't figure it out, to be honest with you, because it's so bizarre.
I'm not Malcolm X and won't repeat his language, but Malcolm X said something about that.
Isn't that about Malcolm X's theory on like Stockholm syndrome based on?
Well, it's a better way. Well, it's about the favored versus the unfavored.
I know I know the quote you're going with now. Yeah, I mean that's very true, but I don't think that
comprador is a better word than the one Malcolm used.
I don't know. I don't understand it. I mean, he's clearly not liberal.
I mean, the good way to think of it is Paul Kagame benefits a great deal personally from enforcing foreign policy decisions that benefit Bill Gates and kill a lot of people in the Congo.
Sure.
He's the president of Rwanda now. He gets too much credit for ending the genocide in Rwanda and not enough blame for exporting it to the Congo.
That's right.
He's close. He's had a long career association with Yoweri Museveni.
Isn't he also? What is going on? Isn't Rwanda also in like in a soft war now with the Congo.
Basically
a quiet war. They keep on invading.
There have been 2 official hot wars in the last decade or 2. And a lot of Cold War period in between. Basically, Uganda and Rwanda control the levers of regime change in the Congo for a group of American capitalists who would rather rely on local dictators than CIA.
Sure. That's it. It's Uganda he's been invading lately.
Well, he and the president of Uganda are buddies. They've been invading the Congo together lately, I believe.
That's it.
For the past 20 years, basically, they've been pushing that lever on the Congo for the U.S. This is why I mentioned Bill Gates' friendship with Paul Kagame, because everything that the Silicon Valley and the Silicon Forest need to operate comes out of the Congo, among a couple of other places.
Well, yeah.
Gold, cobalt, lithium, you name it.
Tantalum.
They dig it up there.
They don't dig it up. Slave labor digs it up.
Slave labor digs. Well, the slave labor is the people of the Congo.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's the same situation. Like they basically returned it to the state of when it was formed.
The Democratic Republic of the Congo is the Belgian Congo once again. We've just got it localized to Congolese ownership.
It's prior to that. It's more like when it was the private colony of Leopold II.
Well, that's the Belgian, the Congo Free State. That's a good point.
It's under Belgium it wasn't his own little playground where he killed about a million.
They killed lots of people when it was Belgian too, though. The real roots of the problem on the colonial end go back to before the Belgians were given it by the for compensation from their invasion by the Germans in World War I.
Yeah,
because that's how they got it. They were given it in compensation for the German invasion of Belgium after World War I. All of Germany's colonies got taken away, and Belgium got the Congo. The British got Samoa, which had been German. The French got a lot of other African territories, but if they were north of a certain line, but everything south of a certain line went to the British.
Yep.
And the French gave Congo to the Belgians specifically as compensation for the invasion by Germany.
Yeah. Well, one part of it.
One part. They kept a whole bunch too.
They already had a part up here from 1885.
Yes.
When he created his.
And they expanded that part a little. But
yeah. But that's what you're right. You're absolutely right. They keep on doing that. And those guys are the ones who are pushing a lot of these fringe candidates. I mean, Thiel is donating tons of money to all these people. And I'm sure if this kid went to Thiel, he could get a bunch of money from him.
And the French part of Congo is the Republic of Congo, Brazzaville, which is different from the Democratic Republic of Congo in Kinshasa, whose capital is Kinshasa. Brazzaville that was the portion of Congo that that was in the process of actually being liberated when things went badly.
Yeah, but you remember how the best part about how
Patrice Lumumba, that's where
how Leopold II even got his section in
yes. He basically he basically abolished the colony and gave it to himself as a present.
It was that, but how he got everyone to sign on to it was hysterical. Was that he said it was going to be a philanthropic mission?
It was going to be, we're granting independence to the Congo and making it a free country,
free trade, and all this stuff, and then he makes himself the ruler of it, right?
Yes.
It's like the absolute playbook that some of these the real banana republics are all run by Europeans, and Congo was just the most direct But I'm just saying, but it's like what the text giants keep on telling us.
Yes.
Right? I mean, like Guy Tan, like,
the Free State. Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be the Free State of San Francisco.
Yeah, like the Congo Free State.
That's right. So what if you have to wear this little disc around your arm and be on time to work, or cut your hand off?
To go back to Shadowrun, in Shadowrun they have the Free State of California. But the Free State of California is basically cut up into a bunch of corporate enclaves, and the part of it that actually should be an independent country is being invaded by various people. So except for the corporate enclaves, there really is no California Free State.
That sounds about right. I mean, I have this whole theory that if you went full-on libertarian, all you'd have is infighting.
Well, the best part of Shadowrun, one of the few good parts, is that the Sioux kick everyone out of their portion of North America and establish their own military dictatorship ruled by war chiefs.
I've never heard of Shadowrun.
Oh, so Shadowrun is the end of a process. The beginning of a process was a fantasy role-playing game called Earth Dawn. And Earth Dawn is this sort of pre-Adamic world that's ruled by elves who are served by dwarves and who fight against orcs, and proto-humans are slaves to the elves.
Wow.
In Shadowrun is a cyberpunk game, but because it is a cyberpunk game that happens in the same fantasy continuity as Earth Dawn, what really screws up the cyberpunk future and makes it even more dystopian and really shapes the flavor of the world is that in around 2020 or so, magic comes back in something called the Awakening. And because of the Awakening, the ghost dance
actually works. Gotcha.
And because the ghost dance actually works now because of the Awakening, Mount Shasta erupts. Mount St. Helens erupts.
Do the aliens come out of Mount Shasta? That's always my favorite theory.
There are no aliens. Instead, elves and orcs and dwarves and trolls all come back.
Oh, what about Bigfoot? Is he out of Mount Shasta?
Now Sasquatches are a thing in Mount Shasta, and the most Sasquatches really are a thing in Shadowrun. The most popular athlete in Portland in Shadowrun is a Sasquatch stickball player.
Oh, I wanted to be basketball.
No, it's stickball because you've got to remember Portland is in the Pacific Northwest. And even though and Oregon is an elvish apartheid state ruled by elvish nobles who are actually still alive from the Earth Dawn period because they've lived that long.
That's some longevity.
Now there's Nazis for you, and there's racial purity. Elves.
I gotcha.
So they just took the Tolkien stuff out of the.
This is why I never
out of all the subtext, and made the Nazis made the elves who rule Oregon and
super
Ireland
Nazis
into racial purity obsessed fascists.
Super Nazis.
Yeah,
who live forever
and who have magic.
And magic. That actually does really not fit, actually, considering how crazy
it really, considering all the occult shit the Nazis were into, elves running the Nazi party with magic in the cyberpunk future actually makes sense.
It works.
Because elves are sort of that ultimate expression of Aryan racial purity.
I guess, yeah.
And orcs are the absolute antithesis.
Slavs. So
and the orcs in Shadowrun are a downtrodden minority.
They get to play the Slavics?
Well, the more obvious analog is African Americans.
Oh.
And orcs live in slums in much the same way.
Wow. You see, I've never played the game. Never a big thing on role play.
I mean, I've never been able to play the game as much as I've wanted, but I love
the complexity of it,
storytelling that goes into connecting an old fantasy prehistoric fantasy role-playing game with a cyberpunk game in the future that has all those same fantasy elements.
Yeah, that's a lot of play. That is a lot.
And because the dice system is basically the same, you can do weird time travel things if you really want to. I don't necessarily recommend it, but
see, now you're losing me, right? I mean, I never understood the Dungeon Dragons, the 20-sided die.
So that's the nice simple thing is that Shadowrun only uses 6-sided dice. It makes sense.
Yeah.
So you don't need all the funky dice.
I was always more of a Monopoly guy.
Yeah, all you need for Shadowrun is a bunch of 6-sided dice. Otherwise, if you don't have a bunch, you end up rolling them a whole lot because there are things where you would roll 10 6-sided dice to decide what happens.
How would you even get that in your hand? My hand's not even big enough to have.
You might have to roll them 5 at a time. Though I have big hands, I admit.
I mean, you have to have some huge hands. I mean, that'd be. Talk about that.
One doesn't necessarily roll all the dice at once, depending on hand size. But yeah, no. It's all 6-sided. There are no funky dice that you have to figure out. Fairly simple system in its that's straightforward.
Because the 20-sided die always looked like it was like a golf ball. I was like, what?
The 20-sided die is just a basic dodecahedron. The reason that I was never freaked out by the 20-sided dice is I was a kid at the right age for the Phantom Toll Booth, where a dodecahedron is a character anyway.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, it's just like it's a golf ball you're rolling. You're not rolling a dice; it's a golf ball.
No, it actually rolls pretty well and settles pretty well. It's actually a great shape for a die. The one that doesn't roll well and is clunky is the 4-sided. Because a pyramid is never going to roll super well. It's just going to land somewhere and stay there.
That's.
All the others, though, actually roll pretty well and have good stability. The only one that's hard to roll is the pyramid.
But I never understood that one either.
But Shadowrun is just like playing Yahtzee as far as the dice rolling part goes.
Yeah, give me. I'm a simple guy. Give me a good Monopoly board and the ability to run my opponent into financial ruin.
The way to think of role-playing games is less of role-playing games and more as a storytelling exercise with the dice as just the mechanics of how you resolve certain things along the way in the story. The dice are what make it a game instead of just a storytelling exercise, but the storytelling exercise is what makes the game fun. And so if you could have fun sitting around telling stories in a sort of interactive way where my character does blah, blah, blah as sort of a storytelling thing, then, hey, it's your thing. But if that's not your thing, then whether you liked it, whether the dice make sense to you or not doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, I understood that, but I never really got into them.
That makes sense. There are lots of other ways to tell stories. I got into them because I was the right age and because I read Choose Your Own Adventure books at a young age.
Oh. That makes sense.
Though even more fun, before I discovered Choose Your Own Adventure, which are a little older, I discovered TSR, the company that makes Dungeons and Dragons, Endless Quest books, which are a specially branded ripoff of the Choose Your Own Adventure, specifically to plug TSR's games.
Oh,
so that got me just a little bit into Dungeons and Dragons from the beginning.
I see.
Because the game had lots of Dungeons and Dragons stuff.
I still can't believe they made a movie out of it twice now.
So
3 times.
So you could make really good movies out of Dungeons and Dragons material if you wanted to, but they didn't do that. There was a branding exercise going on, and they were sadly every attempt to do Dungeons and Dragons media has targeted the wrong age bracket. They try to target kids who are too young for Dungeons and Dragons with Dungeons and Dragons media.
Yeah, you really need people who are between like 55 and 48.
It depends. I mean,
I'm a little too young for it, but it's my
the people most likely to play. Well, you're pretty close. The people who are most likely to play are either college students, so people in their teens and 20s, or people in their 40s and 50s who played when they were in college.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The real people you want to get are the people that played it when they were like 15 and 20 back in 1979 to.
They're the people who are most fun to play with. It's true. I was in my favorite D&D game ever was a game where at 40 something I was the youngest player at the time.
Right. I mean, you'd be. Yeah. I mean, see, I'm 45 and I'm just outside of that. D&D was that was like 8 years before when I was in high school. That was cool, right? I mean,
well, I didn't do it because it was cool. I was a nerd.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that was like the thing you did when you were a nerd in high school in like 1985 to 1990.
Well, what's funny is I got into it when I started getting into it when I was in grade school because of said Endless Quest books. I'm 49. I didn't realize this. I thought I was younger, but I'm actually older than you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and my brothers who are in their, one's 57 and one's 56. Oh, wait, one's 58. He turned 58 this year. 156. They're like the perfect age. That was that was like the phenomenon.
I'm like the only person who actually got into Dungeons and Dragons at the age that Dungeons and Dragons media is marketed towards. So I'm an exception.
I'm just saying that that was like the real like apex, like that, like mid 80s. Like that.
Yes, it was. That was when TSR was in every comic book. Mm-hmm. That was when Dungeons and Dragons practically kept the comic book industry going with its advertising spending.
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, every comic book had multiple ads for TSR products.
Wow.
Not just Dungeons and Dragons either, but the games you haven't heard of, like Top Secret and Gamma World.
Yeah, I haven't heard of those. You're absolutely
right. There was a James Bond game called Top Secret. It was all about playing a James Bond sort of. Yeah, Natalie, that's good to know. I will keep you on my list if I ever try to get a Discord game together.
See, right there. See, I'm 15 years too young. my thing. When I was a kid, it was like Doom.
But the people who are doing the D&D podcast now are millennials.
I know. Well, good for them.
I have a friend who was on one of those D&D podcasts for a while and was auditioning for another one.
Oh, that's good.
I hope they're a good friend of mine. I hope they're doing well.
I do too.
But yeah, we should probably wrap up since we've gotten way off topic.
Well, nothing more fringe than playing D&D.
Anything that's true, though sadly nobody in running for Congress that I'm aware of is saying vote for me. I'm a paladin.
I don't even know what a paladin is.
Paladin is a better name. The term paladin is French. It comes from.
I know what a paladin is, but not a paladin.
Paladin is my mispronunciation. But vote for me. I'm a paladin.
You're a knight? Awesome. Or you just really like the show Have Gun Will Travel.
Have Gun Will Travel, yes.
Now that I know, because I watched a lot of reruns on TV.
Well, I also know your Gene Roddenberry trivia, so I would expect you to know Have Gun Will Travel at least a little.
I'm a big Star Trek fan.
But lots of people are Star Trek fans. You know your Gene Roddenberry trivia, which is very different.
I like the documentaries. They always make me laugh.
Yeah, no, that was and here's my final thoughts before I wrap us up. I watched a Netflix documentary. It wasn't really a Netflix documentary. Someone else did it first, but I watched it on Netflix. Hosted by Patrick Stewart. About the filming and writing and development of the first season of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
That was crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. The biggest thing, and it explains so much about the direction that Star Trek has gone since then, if you know this. But if you didn't know this, it doesn't make nearly as much sense if you're a longtime Roddenberry fan. There was a writer's mutiny during the second season. And while his name stayed on the show until he died, he essentially had no power from then on.
But that happened to him before.
Yes.
He got kicked out after the first movie. He was relegated.
Yes, he was relegated to a spokesman role.
That's right. They had to keep him on to keep the Trekkies happy. But yeah, again, he and his lawyer, they found out he had all these like royalties they had to pay him, and one of the ways they did it was by putting him back in control.
Yes. And they did, and they didn't. And the sad thing was that the people who did the writers' room mutiny in the second season were people who just hated Star Trek. And when I say that, I don't mean that they hated the Star Trek franchise. Obviously, they loved it. They did all sorts of stuff in it, especially post Roddenberry. What they hated was the actual story of Star Trek that they thought restricted them as writers to not being able to tell the sort of stories they wanted to. To which my response is, if you didn't want to tell Star Trek stories, why did you sign up to write Star Trek? But that's a whole nother topic, and it's a show of its own.
Probably had to do with the fact that they had a mortgage payment.
What are your final thoughts?
Well, my final thoughts are, well, it's going to be a fun midterm season. Keep your eyes out. Look for anyone who looks a little off. And really, just, do some due diligence before you vote this time. Find out. It's going to be hard. They're going to hide it. But, and guys like us are going to be out there trying to find I've
been trying not to give electoral advice so much lately, but as much as I hate to say it, I think if a whole bunch of Democrats who actually run on some sort of anti-Israel platform win, then that's something where people can at least try to pressure them to live up to it.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be affordability is going to be the big issue.
I think you're right, sadly.
And unfortunately, well, I don't think it's sad. I think it's a very important issue, but it is going to supersede any kind of social issue about people are going to say,
we'll see. The Vietnam War was eventually used to replace social issues with Democrats.
It was
Pete Stark, who was ironically replaced by the no longer in Congress Eric Swalwell.
I know.
Pete Stark was a bank president who put up a sign on his bank saying "End the war" and put peace signs on his bank's checks.
Well,
but he wasn't in it for the poor people.
True, but I'm just saying that at this point, right, when people are feeling their wallet being squeezed so excessively by gas prices, food prices, they tend to vote that fear first, right? And they think, well,
oh yes,
I'm not going to worry about what's going on in Gaza or Iran or anything else because I just want a guy who fixes these immediate issues right here. And that can be a little short-sighted because sometimes those far-off issues are really what are driving a lot of the local issues.
That's why we need critical consciousness to understand how the big political stuff affects our ordinary lives.
Right. And so in some ways, some of the fringe guys do get that right, that a lot of these bigger picture issues, they just usually have a bad prescription for it.
Yeah.
Isolationism isn't what gets you there. Actually, meaningful engagement with other people that is beneficial for both. That's what gets you much more effectiveness in this world.
And even in the isolationist era, there wasn't any real isolation. It was the isolationist presidents who fought the banana wars.
Oh yeah. I mean,
on that note, because I know you got to go. On that note, I hope everybody's been enjoying the show today. I'm sorry about our digressions, but hey, that's part of what people come for too, to listen to the rabbit holes.
That's right.
And I hope everybody has a great week. I do not have anything booked for certain for next week, so we will see what happens. But I am hoping to book something and end up having a show rather than disappearing for a week or two until I can book something again. We will see what happens. Please subscribe, Turn on alerts, visit the Patreon, help the show out. I do have a job interview tomorrow, hoping to get another day job. But still, if people could help the show pay for itself again, that would be nice. Until next week, we'll tweet at you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much for coming.